right, I hate to say it, with all due respect, I am sticking with my guns. I do not see Republican progress from the House or Senate. They're not cutting taxes. They're not cutting spending. I don't know what the reconciliation bill is. A lot of them don't want it. Let's talk politics. This is part of the political scene. We welcome back Ben Domenech, Fox News contributor, Ben Ferguson, host of the Ben Ferguson podcast. Okay, fellas. Tough session with Jim Lankford, whom I respect. He's a good senator. But the fact is, I'm just going to say they're not, I don't know what their message is. They've lost their swagger. I don't know what their message. They're not cutting taxes. They're not cutting spending. They're not cutting fraud. They did stuff a year ago, which was fine. I supported it. But what have you done for me this year? Okay, they're running out of time. They don't work 5 days a week. I mean, Ben Domenech, come on. Somebody's got to call them on this stuff. What exactly are they doing?
I'm happy to have you as my anointed spirit animal today, Larry. The truth is that these guys on Capitol Hill, and I feel like I've been saying this till I'm blue in the face, these guys on Capitol Hill over the last 6 months, they have just been sitting on their laurels. They haven't been doing what they should be doing, which is advancing a growth agenda that in an election year they can actually run on. And the reluctance on the part of Senate leadership, particularly Leader Thune, who I respect, to engage in this reconciliation process in a way that would create that type of election year messaging has been absolutely terrible. They're at total odds with the House, and everything that is going on here is, it's Republican on Republican damage. And the truth is, they have to understand they're all going to, they're going to get together or they're going to fall separately. And it's something that I think could be a lot worse in a wave year, just given historical precedent, if these senators don't get their act together quickly. And I include particularly in that number the people who are, either, closed out, they're retiring, they lost their primary, that kind of thing. These guys all need to get on the same page, or this Republican majority is going to be lost, and everyone is going to be pointing their finger at them. Because guess what? President Trump isn't on the ballot. The fact is, their agenda is, and they need to get together in order to actually have an agenda to advocate for.
I mean, Ben Ferguson, I want to cover other topics, but I'm not making this stuff up, okay? I'm not making this stuff up. I am, all right? I'm calling them on it because of, Ben Domenech just said, I mean, everybody knows. They're talking.
Everybody's saying, if you've been around long enough, you know what the problem is.
The House comes on and blames the
wins on the board.
But the House guys come on and blame the Senate. The Senate guys come on and blame the House. And meanwhile, there's no message here. I mean, talk about lack of swag. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
You got dysfunction on the Senate side because you have a bunch of old guys that just got voted out of office. And they'd rather, let's just be blunt, give the middle finger to the American people they're supposed to be representing and Donald Trump at the same time than actually do their job. They're not listening to their constituents. They're not listening to the people that are asking them to put runs on the board. And this is, if I can't have this Senate seat, then I don't want anyone in the Republican Party to have any power, and I want to burn it down. Now, while that's happening, and you know who the names are, they're people that lost their primaries, right? So they're angry, bitter old men. Let's be clear. On the House side, you've got another problem. You got people there that are saying, well, we kind of want to see what's going to happen, and we can just point the Senate and say it's all their fault. Look, I don't care. I want wins. I want runs on the board. I want an agenda that's being passed, and I don't want you to cop out and say, well, we're really focusing on what's happening in Iran. To be clear, the House and Senate have nothing to do with Iran right now. That's executive branch, and you're absolutely right. Americans should be lighting up their conservative, quote-unquote conservatives in Congress saying, do your job right now before we let the Democrats actually win this thing. And they're a disaster.
Now, Ben Domenech, just on another subject, I want to come back to New York, the Mamdani story. First of all, he can't get rid of Bibi Netanyahu. He had to finally admit as much. By the way, part of that law, part of the federal law is if you even threaten, you could go to the pokey. But I don't think anyone's going to implement that. But we had Mark Thiessen on the other night who did a fabulous job. But the other point that I wanted to raise is the African-American leader of Queensborough, the borough of Queens, which is probably the most, it's one of the prosperous boroughs. He's saying there's white supremacy in the Democratic Socialists because homeowners, right, blacks who own homes and businesses, but homeowners, why should they have to pay higher taxes, okay, higher taxes, and why should their businesses have to pay higher taxes? Their home ownership is important to them. Creating wealth through their businesses and their homes is important to them. So pretty much all white socialists don't have anything to say to people of color, whether they're African American or Hispanic or whatever. This is one of the biggest flaws and problems with this socialist or communist takeover in the Democratic Party.
Well, one of the biggest problems that they have with this agenda, and we've seen this time and again, we saw it in Maine, but we've seen it across the country, is that the people who are most excited about this Democrat socialist message are people who spent far too money getting far too much education from our leftist authorities in higher ed, who shouldn't have the kind of public tax breaks, by the way, that they currently enjoy, in order to create these overeducated, bitter people who feel like by dint of their intelligence authorized by these entities, they deserve more money than they're actually getting from a capitalist marketplace that doesn't fully enjoy their intellect as they ought to. And because of that, they're very much, invested in this type of agenda. I also think that, the truth is that Mamdani thing that you mentioned, obviously, his inability to arrest Bibi, it's just very funny to see a Democratic Party that went from yes we can to no I can't, and that's the kind of excuse that he's making to all of his constituents today, who believed his TikToks and his Instagrams that he was going to pull this off. I mean, I saw the shock from Charlemagne the God. Oh man, he got me, and it's like, yeah, because if you actually know what the law is, you know that he can't do this, and that turns out to be true of a lot of his agenda.
And last one, Ben Ferguson, we got to be fast running. But here's the thing. We've discovered now one of Mamdani's stooges from Congress, this Chevalier woman. She was an intern for a Hamas school on the West Bank and then came. Really? That's who he's been backing? Help me out on it. This is beyond comprehension.
Hold on. You're saying that the Democratic Socialists of America are in favor of terrorist organizations? Yeah, that's not breaking news. But it is funny when you see they hang out with terrorists, and that's where they're actually getting their education for what they want to do back in the United States of America. Mamdani is a guy that is an anti-Semite. He's a guy that hates his country. He's a guy that wants to destroy it fundamentally. He's also a pathological liar to get elected. Remember, he was going to give you those free subways, right? They actually went up in price. Nothing is actually free. Where are all the free grocery stores? He lied to you as a pathological liar on that. And at some point, you're going to have to realize you elected a dude that's going to put your life at risk and also aids and abets terrorist organizations. Welcome to the New York mayor's office.
Yep. No loss of swag among you two. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm really glad to see you.